I'll just continue with the discussion you were having, because you talk about not being able to get enough support on some of the spending issues. I would raise the tax expenditures. Every time we try to close a loophole, there's not a Republican in sight. And this amendment deals with that aspect. It suggests that the tax provisions in Ways and Means, if we're going to make further changes, they should be paid for by closing those tax loopholes. I believe the biggest betrayal of the middle class in this budget is the biggest number that you've included, and that's the $4.5 trillion in new debt that it authorizes the Tax Writing Ways and Means Committee, upon which we both serve, to add to our nation's already unsustainable deficit. That's why I call it a reconciliation bill, because it is wrecking our debt. It is wrecking programs that so many middle-class Americans rely on, doing all that simply to provide more tax breaks to those at the top. And thanks to the work of the independent, nonpartisan Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget, we now know that, inspired by Donald Trump, who is the self-styled king of debt, that the true gigantic increase in our national debt over which this king will reign is in this reconciliation bill, $5.5 to $6 trillion additional dollars on our national debt. What do we get from charging such an immense amount to our great national credit card? Well, is it more affordable groceries, as Trump has promised? Is it life-saving medications? Is it educational opportunities? Is it affordable housing? No, it's none of those. Only a windfall to the who's who of not you. Another round of tax breaks for billionaires. The people that were given those front row seats at the inauguration, they're the people who will benefit. And who exactly are Trump and his Republican enablers requiring to pay for these tax breaks? Not the wealthy and well-connected, but ordinary middle-class workers and our nation's retirees. For those on a fixed budget, the fix is in. Kids lose nutrition assistance. First-generation college students are denied opportunities that they get through affordable student loans. A worker who is paid into Medicare her entire adult life being told that her health care is no longer affordable. A new golden age, I think it resembles more perhaps the era of William McKinley that President Trump so admires, a 19th century gilded age where those with the most get even more. We should reject a budget that adds so much to our public debt, $5.5 to $6 trillion, that some Social Security checks may arrive in the future mail stamped in the red, insufficient funds. My amendment strikes the ability of the president and his billionaire buddies to require working families to pay for another round of Trump tax cuts. And I will say that at least a handful of Republicans agree with my approach. Let me give you this quote. I'm for a dramatic increase in corporate taxes. We have to increase taxes on the wealthy. Where does the tax revenue come from? Corporations and the wealthy. Not my words of the Progressive Caucus, but the recent words of Steve Bannon, recent Trump advisor, and about as MAGA as you can get. Because the bottom line is that the 2017 tax bill cut corporate taxes even more than the corporate lobbyists expected to get, and they are too low and should be raised to pay for middle-class tax benefits. Bannon and I don't agree on much of anything, but he certainly called this one right. The fiscally responsible way to provide a child tax credit, affordable health care tax credits, and other middle-class tax relief is to have every multinational and billionaire pay their fair share. And the gap that remains after so many cuts are made to the middle class in this budget proposal is filled with a resolution that I say is based on alternative facts, or as Trump often does, just making it up. They magically assume a fantastic economy that does not exist in the way that they propose. Their budget is relying on numbers that come down from the sky like manna from heaven. I believe that the bill they have does not turbocharge our economy, it turbocharges our deficit. It puts the fiscal solvency of Social Security and Medicare and other vital investments in great jeopardy. Under President Clinton, our budget was in balance. We were paying off our national debt. but 2 rounds of Bush tax cuts and the 2017 Trump GOP tax scam all benefited the wealthiest few. They changed all that, and we have $10 trillion added to our nation's deficit. What we have seen since the first tax scam from Trump in 2017 was a survey made in 2023 that the largest multinationals in our country are paying a tax rate of 7.8%. I think any nurse or police officer or law enforcement officer around the country would be very happy to have a tax rate of that because they're paying much more. It's not right. And last year, if you look at the pharmaceutical companies, we find that Pfizer, Johnson & Johnson, and Merck, how much did they pay? Nothing. No federal income tax was paid by them, despite the fact that they had huge revenues ranging from $60 to $85 billion. Why does that happen? Because the best investment that pharma ever makes is not in research or even the advertising that proliferates the airwaves, but in this Congress. And it's granting of special tax advantages, special tax loopholes. That's where the pay for should come from, instead of putting more burden on all of us with a greater national debt. The people that are going to benefit from extending or renewing these tax breaks, $79,000 per year savings for someone who earns $1 million a year already. The richest 0.1% get even more, $314,000 per year out of this proposal. So it's a little wonder that Elon Musk and Donald Trump would celebrate this kind of proposal, because they're walking off with all the gold in their new golden age.